My wife emptied our joint account, ran off with another man, and thought she stole my father's inheritance. But what she didn't know is, I'd planned for her betrayal months before she even kissed me goodbye. The text came in at 10:47 a.m. I've transferred your father's inheritance to my account, starting over with someone who understands me. Trevor stared at the screen, blinking once. Then again, slowly, deliberately, he set the phone down beside his desk. An elegant, mahogany relic from his father's old shop, polished but scarred by years of work. Just moments earlier, he'd been finalizing a college fund plan for the Henderson twins. Now, he was reading the digital equivalent of a gut punch. The attachment she sent confirmed it. A screenshot of their joint account zero balance, $8,300. Gone. His thumb hovered over the reply. He typed, "Understood, have fun," then placed the phone face down. His heart didn't race. His breathing stayed steady, but something deeper buried under layers of composure fractured with a nearly imperceptible snap. Trevor Sandlin had been a financial planner in Charlotte for over 15 years. Calm, precise, trusted. A man who helped others build walls around their wealth, their futures, and their families. He never imagined he'd need to build one around himself. His wife, Brianna, had been on a wellness retreat in Sedona chakras. Energy realignment, authentic self-discovery. Words that once made him smile now felt like carefully crafted lies. He had paid for this trip like all the others: the mindfulness weekends, detox retreats, yoga escapes, while she gradually distanced herself from everything real, especially him. 6 months ago, Trevor's father died. A hard man, a good man. He'd run a small auto repair shop on the city's edge for 40 years. Nothing fancy, but he was respected, practical, proud. He left everything to Trevor. Not millions, but enough to mean something: his savings, a life insurance policy, and the building he worked in every day of his adult life. Trevor had tucked it into a Wyoming LLC the week after the funeral. Out of reach, out of sight. At the time, he thought he was being paranoid. Now, he realized he was being smart. Trevor replayed the last few months like security footage. Brianna's new obsession with financial transparency, the sudden interest in account access, her teary speech at the reading of the will, "We can start fresh now." The way she began pushing for joint accounts, talking about merging assets as a deeper bond of trust. He'd given her access to the joint checking and the main household savings, deliberately leaving $8,300 in the former. She took the bait. He didn't confront her. He didn't call a lawyer. Instead, he made a list. Secure main assets, change passwords, review trust terms, document communications, keep calm. Because Trevor had seen it all before at work. The client lost his retirement to a manipulative spouse. The woman was scammed by her boyfriend before she could file a fraud claim. They all ignored red flags. They all acted too late. Trevor wasn't going to be one of them. The next day, she texted again. "I know you're upset, but this is for the best. We both know our marriage has been over 4 months. At least now we can move forward honestly." Honesty. He scoffed aloud. His reflection in the monitor was calm, jaw set, eyes tired, but unwavering. He'd given her 8 years. She'd given him lies wrapped in yoga mats and incense. Still, part of him wanted to believe that maybe the woman he met at that little downtown cafe, the one who asked about his book, who smiled like sunrise, wasn't the same person who just tried to gut his future and vanish with a life coach. But no, she was. She became that person. The first voicemail came 3 days later. "Trevor, we need to talk. I know you're angry, but you're being childish by ignoring me. Call me back." He didn't. He made dinner instead: grilled salmon and rice, watched the evening news, poured a glass of wine, and went to bed. The second voicemail arrived early the next morning. "Seriously, Trevor? This silent treatment is ridiculous. I took the money because it's what's best for both of us. You'll understand eventually." The third voicemail was more urgent, a crack in her confident tone. "Pick up the phone. We have things to discuss." He did. "What do you want to discuss?" he asked, voice flat. "The divorce paperwork," she said hurriedly. "My lawyer says we need to file soon, make everything clean. And before you get any ideas about fighting this, the money transfer was completely legal. We had joint accounts. You gave me access. I remember. So let's handle this like adults. I'll file no. We split everything else 50-50. Move on. What about the house? I want my share of the equity, and half of your retirement accounts. My lawyer says I'm entitled to spousal support, too." Trevor almost smiled. "Your lawyer said that?" "Yes, he reviewed the finances and Trevor, don't play dumb. I know there's more money. That inheritance was more than $8,000. You think there's more? I know there is, and my lawyer knows how to find it. Hidden assets don't stay hidden. You should have him look into that." The silence on her end was brief, but pregnant. "You're scaring me a little. You're too calm." "Why? Would I be upset? You said this is what's best." "I did. But I hope your lawyer finds everything he's looking for." That evening, Trevor visited the old auto shop. The smell of grease and rust was gone, replaced by lavender from the new tenant, a boutique flower studio. He parked across the street and sat there with the engine idling. He thought of his father, his calloused hands, his weathered advice: trust, but verify. and if you can't verify, don't trust. Trevor had verified everything. Brianna failed every test. Stopped by Monday. A formal request arrived. Meeting with Brianna's lawyer. Tuesday at 10 a.m. Neutral ground. Mediation-style. He accepted. Showed up alone. Brianna was there, dressed like she was headed to brunch. Her face glowed, relaxed, victorious. The man beside her stood, extended a hand. Mr. Sandlin, I'm James Patterson. I represent your wife. Trevor nodded. You must be very busy. Patterson chuckled awkwardly. Let's get started. They accused him of hiding assets, claimed the $400,000 estate had disappeared. He violated marital disclosure laws, that he was financially abusive. Trevor reached into his briefcase and handed over a folder. Bank statements, LLC registration, trust documents, notarized signatures, all legal, all traceable, all beyond her reach. Patterson's brow furrowed. He read, turned pages. His face darkened. This is extensive, he finally muttered. Brianna leaned in. What is it? The money you transferred. It wasn't the inheritance. What? You saw what Trevor allowed you to see. Trevor stood and buttoned his coat. The money you took is yours. Keep it. You've earned it. Then, without another word, he walked out. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Brianna would fight back. Trevor knew that. People like her always do when their illusions collapse. She'd underestimated him, assumed love made him blind. But Trevor Sandlin was wide awake now, and he wasn't done yet. 6 days after the mediation, Trevor sat across from a new client. At his office, an elderly widow named Margaret, whose son had tried to refinance her house behind her back. Her hands trembled as she handed him a worn envelope full of bank statements. I don't want to believe he'd do this, she said, voice brittle, but I feel something's not right. Trevor didn't say he probably did. He just nodded and began scanning the paperwork. He'd learned that silence was often more powerful than sympathy. People needed space to face what they already knew. Margaret's pain was familiar. He'd lived it. Later that evening, after the office closed, Trevor sat alone at his kitchen. Table empty, plate in front of him, a half-drunk glass of Merlot untouched. He was reviewing the email his lawyer had just forwarded. Your wife is contesting the prenuptial agreement, claims she was misled and didn't understand the clause about forfeiture. We'll need to prepare for a court hearing. Let's meet next week. Trevor read the line again. She was misled. No. She just never thought she'd need to read the fine print. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, a message. Trevor, it's me. Please, don't hang up if you hear this. I'm not calling to fight. I'm scared. Patterson says, the prenup might hold up, that I might lose everything. Can we talk, please? He deleted the message without listening to the rest. Now she was learning what choices cost. The following Saturday, Trevor drove to his father's shop again. He hadn't been inside since the night of the mediation, but today, something pulled him there. The building was still a flower studio. The scent of soil and eucalyptus greeted him as he walked through the open door. The young woman behind the counter smiled. Can I help you? I used to own this place. Well, my dad did. Her expression softened. You're Trevor. He used to bring us donuts every Saturday before we bought the place. Said you might stop by sometime. He smiled faintly. He did. He left something here, she said. Said to give it to you if you ever showed up. She reached under the counter and returned with a wooden box oiled pine. Trevor recognized it instantly. His father had kept it on the top shelf of his office, always locked. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside, a small ledger, a set of old keys, and a sealed envelope with his name on it. He opened the envelope. Son, if you're reading this, you're probably hurting. I hope I'm wrong, but if I'm not, this box holds the rest of your safety net. The keys are to my first storage locker, Unit 31B off Lincoln Road. Paid for 10 years. What's inside, use it wisely. I didn't trust banks with everything. Some things are better kept analog. Your mom taught me that. Love you, son, Dad. Trevor sat there stunned. The letter, the keys, the storage unit. His father had prepared for everything, even betrayal, especially betrayal. That night, he didn't sleep. Not because of anxiety, but because a new kind of clarity had taken root. There was more to this story than just a failed marriage. Brianna wasn't simply greedy, she was coached. She hadn't known how to probe financial structures or demand access to investment accounts. That wasn't her world. But Derek, the life coach from the retreat, maybe it was his. And now, Trevor had a new item for his list. Find out who Derek is. Trevor arrived early at the Lincoln Road storage facility. The manager, a short man with an oversized keyring, led him down a dim hallway lined with padlocked doors. Unit 31B's been untouched since we got it on file, the man said. Prepaid for 10 years? Your dad didn't trust auto renewals? Brought in cash? Trevor nodded and opened the lock with one of the keys. The door creaked open. Inside was a plain metal shelf, 2 fireproof lockboxes, and a duffel bag marked tools. He opened the boxers first. Cash. Stacks of it, crisp hundreds in rubber bands. Receipts from local pawn shops. Records of unreported gold coins, tucked away in cloth pouches. A list of names, some familiar, some not. At the bottom, a leather-bound notebook with his father's scrawl. Emergency fund for Trevor. If Brianna's what I think she is, use this first, quietly, no paper trail. Trevor swallowed hard. His father hadn't just seen the future, he'd built a damn fortress in it. The next step was Derek. He started simple, reverse search on Derek's retreat photo, which Brianna had once posted. The man's smile, half shadowed by a desert sun, was handsome, curated, but facial recognition tied the photo to a different name, Marcus Delaney. Fraud charges in Nevada, dismissed. Former investment mentor, his last known address was in Phoenix. Trevor leaned back in his chair. His instincts had been right. Derek wasn't some love-struck soul-seeker. He was a predator. Trevor's lawyer sat across from him in a glass-walled conference room downtown. Sunlight streamed in from the 18th floor, casting long shadows over. The prenup documents spread across the table. She has no case, the lawyer said. Not unless she can prove you coerced her, which she can't. She'll keep pushing. Let her, but we need to prepare for the worst. If she digs hard, enough into your inheritance accounts even, though they're legally protected, she might try a publicity stunt. Trevor tilted his head. Like what? Leaking false information? Making it a character issue? Emotional abuse? Manipulation? Her lawyer's desperate? Trevor folded his arms. I'm ready. And he was. More ready than she could ever. Imagine that night. He received an email, no subject line. Just a single sentence. You think you've won, but you've only delayed the reckoning. No name, no signature. But it didn't have to say Derek. Trevor knew it was him. He closed the email, encrypted the contents, and saved it to a flash drive. Because people like Derek always made one mistake, they thought fear was leverage, but Trevor wasn't afraid. Anymore. It had been 2 weeks since the email. Trevor hadn't responded to it, hadn't even mentioned it to his lawyer. He didn't need to. The message had said everything. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning, not from Brianna, not even from Derek. It was from a man who realized the scam wasn't going to plan. That morning, Trevor received a voicemail from his lawyer. Harris called her. We got word that Brianna's trying to subpoena your LLC records. Her lawyer filed a motion for disclosure under the grounds of suspected asset concealment. Don't panic, it's thin and likely to be dismissed, but it means they're digging. Trevor hung up, poured himself coffee, and stepped onto the back porch of his new house, a modest 2-bedroom, in a quiet neighborhood near his dad's old shop. Morning sun glowed orange behind the trees. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. A neighbor waved for the first time in weeks. He smiled. Let them dig. They'd find nothing but clean paper, smart contracts, and airtight compliance. That afternoon, he got a text from Grace. Hey, would love to grab coffee if you're free this weekend. No pressure. He hadn't seen her in a while, not since the financial literacy workshop, where her sharp wit and deep laugh left a stronger impression than she probably knew. He stared at the message for a moment before replying. Saturday morning, that place on 3rd and Camden. Perfect. 9A.M. Trevor felt something he hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Hope. Brianna. Paste. The living room of her sister's house. A pile of unpaid bills on the counter, and a dry year's calendar that still read Derek's launch in bold pink letters. Only now, the life coach she'd risked everything for was gone, vanished. Her sister barely spoke to her anymore. Not after the borrowed loan against her property turned into a nightmare. The $37,000 she gave Derek had disappeared, invested into thin air. The wellness retreats, the private sessions, the future she was promised, all evaporated. Now she was facing a failed marriage, a legal battle. She was losing bank, possibly homelessness. She stared at her phone, contemplating whether to call Trevor again, to beg, to lie, to make him feel guilty. But something stopped her. Not morality, not regret. It was fear, not just of him, but of how calm he'd been. Trevor arrived at the cafe to find Grace already seated outside, sipping something topped with whipped cream and cinnamon. Running late, she teased. Always, he said, but worth it. She smiled and gestured to the empty chair. They talked for an hour, not about Brianna, not about inheritances or prenups or financial traps. They talked about books, music, her students, his clients. She told him how her daughter wanted to become a vet. He told her about the dog he almost adopted last year. It was light, easy, real. When they parted, she kissed his cheek and said, "Don't be a stranger," Trevor said. For the first time in months, his heart fluttered. A soft reminder that life wasn't just about surviving betrayal, it was also about rebuilding, but rebuilding required finishing what was broken. So Trevor made a decision that night. He would not let Brianna walk away from this clean, not just because she tried to steal from him, but because she nearly destroyed his father's legacy. Trevor sat in a high-rise downtown office, across from an old friend, Rachel Kemp, a former fraud investigator, turned private asset recovery specialist. He handed her Derek's known aliases, the fake business names, and the retreat flyer Brianna once left on the kitchen counter. Rachel's brow arched. "You're not just trying to win your divorce." "No," Trevor said. "I want to know how deep this scam goes. I want a full trace. And what if your wife isn't deeper than you think? Then I want evidence." She leaned back. "And if I find it?" Trevor's voice was steady. "Let the law do what it does. But I want it airtight, bulletproof, no loopholes, and quiet." 2 weeks later, Rachel called with results. Derek has at least 4 confirmed victims, 3 women, 1 man, all reported small-scale fraud, but none pursued charges. Brianna's name came up in 2 of the reports. She was either complicit or used as a reference. Trevor's stomach tightened. He'd suspected Brianna was manipulated, but involved. He's likely running a pyramid-style mentorship scheme through fake LLCs, Rachel continued. We found a burner email with correspondence between him and your wife. She discussed harvesting initial capital through a controlled withdrawal strategy. That withdrawal, the $8,300? Trevor was silent. Trevor, she added, if she knew what he was doing, she could be charged. He took a long breath. Document everything. Timestamp it. Don't contact her. I want it handled legally. The final court hearing was scheduled. Brianna's lawyer entered the courtroom with a tighter expression than before. Trevor's team handed over the binder Rachel's full report. When the judge reviewed it in chambers, he returned with a simple statement. Mrs. Sandlin, in light of new evidence, your claim of coercion is invalid. Furthermore, the court finds substantial cause to deny spousal support and asset division requests. Brianna blinked rapidly. Stunned. The judge continued. Mr. Sandlin, the court recognizes your protection of non-marital assets and approves full retention of inheritance accounts. As Trevor exited the courtroom, Brianna followed him into the hallway. You set me up again, she hissed. No, Trevor said. You walked into it again. You don't have to do this. We were something once. You loved me? I did. She reached for his hand. You don't still? He looked at her for a long moment. No, but I pity you. Her hand dropped. Her eyes flicked down to her heels. Trevi walked away. That night, Trevor sat by his father's old toolbox in the garage. Grace had dropped off a homemade lasagna earlier and texted, for the man who keeps everyone fed but forgets himself. He smiled. A soft kind of peace was returning. He opened the toolbox not to fix anything, but to remember, to feel grounded. Inside was a photo. His dad, oil-stained, beaming. On the back, in fading ink, you'll know when to walk away. You'll know when to fight, and you'll know when to forgive. Trevor wasn't there yet, but he was getting close. It began not with a bang but with an envelope. Delivered on a rainy Wednesday morning, plain, Manila, no return, address. Inside, a USB drive, a short note, typed, from someone he burned before. Use it, expose him, end this. Trevor plugged it into his laptop. Firewall, active. Rachel had taught him. The protocol. The drive contained a trove of data meals, fake invoices, voice recordings. Derek real name, Marcus Delaniel lay bare. Coaching payments laundered through shell LLCs. Spiritual investment packages totaling hundreds of thousands from desperate people. Even a clip of him boasting to someone on a phone call. The trick is, sell them healing, then promise them returns. People in pain pay anything to feel better. And then Brianna's voice, laughing. He still thinks I'm at a retreat. Poor Trevor. He believed in the chakras. Trevor leaned back. There it was. Not just betrayal. Partnership in the con. He met Rachel that evening at a private office near Uptown. She scanned the drive, eyes narrowing as she listened. This. This is enough for a full federal fraud investigation, not just civil litigation. We take this to the authorities, and Derek Conde likely Brianna are done. Trevor didn't hesitate. Do it. She nodded. It might take time, but once the ball starts rolling, there's no stopping it. Trevor looked out the window, watching traffic blur in the rain. No need to stop it, he said quietly. Just let it run them over. Grace visited often, sometimes with dinner, sometimes just coffee and her smile. Sometimes with her kids, who took an instant liking to Trevor, especially her son, who loved hearing about money traps like stories from a superhero accountant. Trevor found himself laughing again, feeling again, trusting again, and still waiting. Then one morning, the knock came. 2 men in dark suits. Mr. Trevor Sandlin. Yes, we're with the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. We wanted to thank you for your anonymous tip. Marcus Delaney, alias Derek Trent, was arrested this morning in Chicago. And Brianna Sandlin, she's currently under investigation. We have enough to consider her an accessory in 2 known cases. If she cooperates, she may avoid prison, but she'll never touch a financial instrument again. Trevor stood still, the air thick with a strange calm, not joy, not triumph, just release. 3 weeks later, his lawyer called. Brianna filed a formal declaration. She's not contesting the divorce anymore. Signed a full waiver. No claims, no appeals. She's also filed for bankruptcy. It's over, Trevor. Trevor walked into the kitchen and poured himself a glass of water. No celebration, no toast, just a breath. And then, he called Grace. He arrived early this time. The cafe on 3rd and Camden was quiet. Grace was already seated, eyes bright. She looked up and smiled. You look like someone who just won the quietest war in history, he laughed. Maybe I did. They talked for hours, and when she asked, gently, do you think you're ready for something new? He didn't hesitate. I think I am. She reached across the table, touched his hand. Then let's not waste time pretending we're not. Trevor stood at the edge of the old lot where his father's shop once stood. A new building was going up his. a financial literacy center for low-income families, the first of its kind in Charlotte. He wasn't just rebuilding a life, he was rebuilding purpose. The inheritance had grown, yes, but more than that, it had been protected, honored. His father's legacy wasn't money, it was wisdom, and Trevor had turned it into something real. He mailed an envelope to Tennessee, inside a cashier's check amount, $8,300, no return address, no note, just a silent closure. He'd kept his dignity. She could keep the lesson. Trevor Sandlin had lost a marriage, a dream, and nearly his sense of trust. But in return, he found the strength to protect what mattered, the courage to rebuild what was broken, and the love that didn't come with conditions. Not all inheritances are money. Some are survival, some is wisdom, and the rarest kind leads to peace.